or another is happiness. So when you start doing it, you want to do it more and more and more. Now, if on the other hand you're practicing dark ecstasy and you fall into a non-human way of living, then it should be the case that you can't do it, like you just said, because you're not following the God or the intelligence that exists that creates everything, and therefore you're not following your own innate way of existing. So you can't do telementation from that standpoint. So yeah, the dark ecstasy, evil, or more subtly, just thinking of ourselves not in our true sense. Thinking of yourself as a failure, thinking of yourself in defeatist terms. I can't do this. I can't have that.
Right.
All these things prevent us from being what we are, which is our telementers.
If you tell yourself you can't, you never will.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what everybody's doing, though, isn't it? I mean, I so often I'll talk to people, and they'll say, I can't do this, I can't have that. I told people I was going to be on Coast to Coast. I said, yeah, it's the biggest radio show I've been on. And people are almost thinking, oh, Jeff, you can't do that. I've known you for my whole life, and you're just Jeff. You can't be a person who can influence lots of people on the radio. And I'm thinking, why not?
I hope they're listening to you right now.
Yeah, right.
Tell them hi.
Hi,
People.
exactly.
He's doing well.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, why can't we be special? I mean, I often think about, children in the school. You're taught, oh, you're going to grow up to be a doctor. Oh, you're going to grow up to be a garbage man. I say, why just a doctor? Why a garbage man? How about you're going to grow up to be an ecstatic spiritual being or something? Isn't that what Native Americans would teach their children? You're going to grow up to be the shaman. Your destiny is to communicate with the Great Spirit. Think how different that is. You get that in your mind that you are special. You're meant for communication with God. Your feelings are being heard by this great intelligence that creates everything. Think of that. Think of if we thought of ourselves in those terms rather than, oh, I'm going to grow up to be a doctor or a computer scientist or work at McDonald's. I mean, there's a difference there. One is filled with hope and bliss and truth, and the other is sort of an artificial way of looking at ourselves.
When I was younger, I mean way younger, Jeff, I used to contemplate, hey, would you want to get into politics one day? Maybe you'd be the president. And I kind of like stuck it in the back of my head, went into broadcasting, kept doing my thing. Lo and behold, a couple of years ago, major article in WorldNet Daily that I could be a presidential candidate. And, I looked at that and I said, what are the odds of some little boy thinking, hey, maybe I want to be a president one day, as kids do. And then seeing that in print as an adult, it's kind of eerie, I got to tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I had that told to me as well, hey, maybe, Jeff, you can grow up to be the president. But then I thought later in life, that was strange. Why did people pick that one? I mean, because the president is becoming less and less admirable through the years. There's Clinton and then...
Yeah, I know.
And so, I mean, why wouldn't it be the case that someone would tell me, hey, Jeff, you're going to grow up to be happy or something? I mean, I was told that much. It was always, there's some goal. I'm supposed to be something other than what I am. I would think later in life, why can't I just be who I am? I don't want to have to work to be this thing that people approve of. And therefore, now I've reached social approval in our society, in American society.
Well, you're like me. You want to help people, but you also want to change things. And you know what? I'm in a perfect position now to attempt to change things, because if I see things that I think are wrong, I talk about it. I'm out there always looking for the truth. And what a better platform for me than this radio program that goes out to millions every night.
Yeah. I've heard you say, George, on the air that I love my job. And yeah,
I do.
What could be more enjoyable than helping people? I mean, it really is like a good drug. I mean, go give a sandwich to a homeless person or something, and you just for some reason
open a door for somebody.
Pardon?
Open a door for someone. That they're coming in behind you. Open a door, let them in. It's remarkable, but people aren't used to that, Jeff, which is another facet I want to talk with you about pretty soon. Why are so many people angry these days?
Oh, wow.
You
That's
sense
a good
it.
question.
You know it's out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons that's the case. One good one to think about is humans are things that are taken out of their natural environment. I mean, we are made for being with our families. We are made for spiritual experience. We're made for thinking about philosophy. I mean, Aristotle said humans have a natural, for some reason, they're obsessed with curiosity. They're filled with curiosity, obsessed with knowledge. I mean, we're made for relaxation. We're made for exercise. We're made for traveling around and sometimes sitting around. We're made for all these things. Now, of all the things I just said, nobody's really doing much of these things. These are, what I just listed are all the things that people love the most. And I know a lot of people out there would say, no, what I love the most is sit and watch, 14 episodes of Seinfeld or something. I would bet you that if you did that versus some of the other things I just said, although you may feel, relaxed after watching Seinfeld, something you're not satisfied in the way after the other things I just listed. So the point is that the human race is an entity of, a collection of beings who are out of their tree. They're not where they're supposed to be. So of course we have an epidemic of Prozac. Of course we've got weird things like anorexia. Anorexia, George, doesn't happen in primitive cultures.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So, and that's a bizarre psychological, output of civilization, it would seem like. Cancer is an output of civilization, but, anorexia just pure mental, in many ways, output. So it's interesting to note that, if you take a dog and put it in its wrong environment, it's going to get irritated. Okay, my parents, like I said, they just had their power out in Kalamazoo for 30 hours, and my wife was there with them because I was in Croatia, so she took the kids there so they have help while I was gone. And she said my parents were getting really, really irritated. Well, of course they were, because they're not who wants to have their house at 44 degrees? But what if we looked at the whole human race like that? I mean, are we supposed to be living the lives we are? And I think we're not, so therefore we're angry.
We're going to come back in just a moment, more with Jeff Grupp as we talk about his work, telementation, corporatism, and the telescreen. Jeff, what is the Swiss watch universe theory?
Oh, that's just the idea that the cosmos is completely non-random. In academia, as you know, we're sort of taught that things are random. Not sort of. I mean, that's what they hold a theory, a philosophy, no matter where you are, philosophy department, anthropology, biology, physics, that things are random. And if I go to them and say, hey, how do you know things are random? Can you prove it? Nobody's going to have an answer for me. But then on the other hand, there's all kinds of evidence that the cosmos and our world and your daily life are unbelievably fine-tuned. We were talking about synchronicity a little while ago. Telementation, which we've talked about, is another example. A telementational act is a completely non-random. It's a directed event. Now, what if I'm telementationally creating events at all different times without knowing it, which we've all done? I mean, if you fear, how many of you have had something where you really, really feared something, and then bam, the event to some degree happens? There's another non-random event. Now, the golden ratio we talked about, and there's all kinds of other mathematical intelligent design issues going on that we've talked about. In many, many ways, I mean, the whole cosmos is a fractal structure to a dramatic degree. Very few people know how exactly what that means. I mean, there's no joke that when I say fractal, that means the part of something resembles the whole, the little piece of broccoli. It looks like the whole piece of broccoli. Now, the whole cosmos is like that. A person is a fractal of the Earth. The Earth is a fractal of the solar system of the galaxy, and so forth. I mean, you can really show this. I mean, it may not appear obvious at first. You say, wait a minute, a person doesn't look like the Earth. But, if we describe it a little more, you'd see very clearly, oh, yes, they do. And so the point is here is the Swiss watch theory. There was a time where I was studying an author named Bonnie Gout, who wrote one of the most amazing books I've ever read called Beginnings, The Sacred Design. And she just showed in there how fine-tuned so many things in our world are, down to the way civilizations are formed. And a lot of that's planned, architects putting the golden ratio in the ancient Greek Acropolis structures and so forth. But a lot of it isn't, how far the pyramids are from the Nile, how far the base of the Nile, where the Nile River spreads off into the fingers before it goes into the big body of water, how far those are apart from each other, the tip of the Nile to where it starts to finger out. These all happen by numbers that are always repeating. The number 18, 81, 27. I started to call these solar numbers or intelligent design numbers or Swiss watch theory numbers because the same stuff's always appearing. Why does the number 27 appear all over the place? Rotation of the sun, it's in DNA. It's you look at vitamin B12, hemoglobin in your body. These things have the same structure, the same numbers show up. So the point is that if you go to the university and somebody tells you, hey, everything's random, you may believe that, and you may have that theory in your mind and then ignore empirical evidence over and over that shows the actual case, which is there's incredible patterning everywhere. It's almost like the whole cosmos in our daily lives are a Swiss watch, and it's not that we're not in control of it. That's fatalism, where, everything's controlled and we are just going through the Swiss watch reality. No, you're doing it. That's what telementation is. And then there's other things. Perhaps this creator we're talking about, God, has a hand in it. Maybe there's dark ecstatic Illuminati members which are doing these exercises to help create, contribute their part to the Swiss watch world. So the point is, though, is everything is so fine-tuned that you almost have to start to think everything's completely non-random. There's many, many examples of this, and it takes a little while. You have to kind of think about this for a little bit because we're so programmed to think everything's random. People say, hey, that's the way the ball bounces, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
So, we're trained to think that way, so you have to sort of get this in your mind that, no, that's not how things are. The way the ball bounces, you could be telementationally creating the ball bounce in a way. I used to, when I was teaching one time, I told my students, I said, when I play basketball, because at our old house we had a basketball hoop, and I would play all the time. My daughters would be outside, and it was a blast. And I would say to them, I don't shoot baskets with my hands. I shoot baskets with my mind, because when I was learning telementation years and years ago, I discovered in the 90s when I tried to, in the early 2000s, tried to really master it, I would play basketball, and I would find out that my mental state always dictated if the ball went in or didn't go in and how it would do so, if it was a bank, rim shot, whatever. So anyway, that's in a nutshell this amazing idea of the Swiss watch theory. It's an anti-chance, anti-randomness model of the cosmos.
Where does this wireless internet, this connection that all of us have with each other, with events, where does that fit in the scheme of things?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. Are you talking about telepathy?
Telepathy, intuition. See, my theory is, Jeff, that everybody is connected together. You, me, everybody. It's wireless. It's out there. It's in the ether of the universe. But I don't understand how it works. I know it does.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's not just a theory, as you know. You can verify this. In many ways, you can go put a lab together and do scientific experiments which can easily show that people are reading each other's feelings and thoughts. Or you can just do it in your own personal life. You can notice that, hey, every time my daughter says something, starts talking about a kitty or a cat, I was thinking about one 10 seconds earlier. You can notice little things like there's a person who, I forgot the name, who wrote a book called Parent-Child Telepathy, and you can do experiments on, this telepathy everywhere. Telepathy makes up the essence of human existence. Now, that's one, a lot of your listeners probably know this already. Now, the ramifications of it are what I